This is the editing we're going to be doing in this video. So for this video, you need to have some assets. And I have a link in the description where you can download these for free. So go ahead, download them and import them in DaVinci Resolve right here. Now right click over here and go to create new timeline. Unselect use project settings, go to format and use vertical resolution. Now drag in a fusion composition, right click and select change clip duration. Now from here, you can change this to 1 and change this to 0.5. All right. Now let's right click and open in Fusion page. Over here, I'm going to drag this background connected with the media out and go ahead and drag in this city map image connected with the background. Now over here, I'm going to go over to the size and change this to 2.2. Now go to apply mode and change this to luminosity. Now go ahead and drag this image once again, connect it with the merge 1, but this time copy the settings from merge 1 by pressing Ctrl C, right click on merge 2 and select paste settings. Now in the merge 1, change the gain to 0.05 and now drag in this ellipse and connect it with the merge 2. Now change the soft edge all the way to 0.2 and change the width at 0.2 and height at 0.2. Now at 0 frames, create keyframe at width and height, and now go over to 20 frames and change this to 1. Both of these to 1. Now let's drag in our text. So just drag in this text from here and connect it with the merge 2. Now over here, we're going to create a slider. So right click over here and go to edit controls. Now over here, change the pages to text and click on this integer and change the range from 0 to 5000 and select this slider control. Hit OK. And now if you will scroll down, you will see this new control. Now right click over here and select expressions. Now this plus sign, just drag this and use your mouse scroll wheel to go down and connect it with the new control. So now you will be able to change the text. But the text is not that visible. So first of all, let's change the font. I'm going to be using this Future Bold. And let's change the size to 0.3. Now over here at 0, I'm going to change the new control to 1917. And I'm going to create a keyframe. Now right here at 25, I'm going to change this to 2024. So if you play this right now, this is how it will look. Now right here at 25, go over to shading and create a keyframe at opacity, and all the way to the end, change this to 0. So this will fade out. Now while you have your text selected, press Ctrl Space and search for drop shadow and select this, click on add, make sure that this is connected. Now change the shadow strength to 0.4, drop angle to 35, change the drop distance to 0.01 and the blur to 0.25. And if you zoom in, you will see this effect right here. All right, now just go ahead and drag in the city layout image and connect it with the merge 3. Now change the size to 3 so that this fits in the whole screen, as you can see. And now go ahead and change the apply mode to multiply and change the gain to 0.7. And you will see that this is the texture that we get. Now go ahead, select your merge 4 and click on this transform. Create a keyframe at 0 at size. Now go all the way to the end and change the size to 1.5. Now go over to spline and select this transform size. Select these keyframes and hit S on the keyboard, but just slightly move these in as well. So if you play this now, this is how it will look. Now we're going to create some overlays. So for that, just drag in a fusion composition right here and Right click, go to open in Fusion page. Drag in this background and connect it with the media out and change the color to white. Now drag in this polygon and connect it with the background. And let's create a line. So I'm just going to create a line like this. Make sure that you select this selection tool or modify only tool. Click over here and you can now adjust the line. All right. And now let's go over here. Change the border width to 0.05. Now select your background and press Control Space and search for displays. Go to XY and change the X refraction to 0.01 and change the Y refraction to 0.1. Now add this fast noise and connect it with the displays. Change the detail to 10 and the scale to 20. Now go ahead, make sure that your displays is selected and press Control Space. Search for glow and change the glow size to 50 and the glow to 0.9. Now make sure you have your glow selected and press Control Space and this time search for film grain. So you can select this film grain, click add. Make sure that you select this time lock and change the size to 0.2, strength to 0.3 and roughness to 0. And if we zoom in, this is the kind of shape that we will get for this line. Now let's go ahead and start animating. So we're going to be using this polygon to animate. Now over here, we have a keyframe. Let's just unselect this and go over to 0. Create a keyframe over here and also at center. Now go one frame ahead and adjust some size for this line, and this is up to you. However you want to do this is up to you. Now go one keyframe ahead again, and this time I'm just going to create keyframe and do nothing, and go one keyframe ahead, and this time let's change some settings. So I'm going to do this a couple of times, each keyframe up till 10 frames, so you can just follow along. Right, so we have some keyframes now, and this is how it looks at the moment, as you can see. But now we need to make this continuous. So a better way to do it is to go over to spline. Make sure that you select your polyline and displacement. Select all of these keyframes. And over here, you will find the option for set ping pong. Click on it, and this will give you a loop like this. All right, now let's go back to the main timeline, and I'm going to add in another fusion composition, which is going to be the second overlay that we have. So right click over here, open in Fusion page, and this is going to be pretty much the same process, except that this time we're going to do a different shape. But again, drag in a polygon, connect it with the background and background with the media out. This time we're going to create a different shape. So right click over here and click on show guides. So I just made these shapes right now. And once you have made a shape like this, you can just use the guides to make sure that these are on the same line. All right, now just zoom in and click over here and just drag this slightly upwards and also press this smooth. Now select this point and slightly move this up. This point, slightly move this up so that we get this shape like this right here. And now we're going to do the same thing over here as well. So slightly move this up, select the smooth option like this. Select this point, slightly move this up and this one as well. So we get a shape like this. But make sure that you select these points, this point, and move this slightly in, and this one as well. So this is the kind of shape that we are going for. And once you have that, and this doesn't need to be perfect, you can just create this randomly as well, but this is the kind of shape that we are going to be creating for this effect. Now make sure that your background is selected and click on this transform. And also, while you have your transform selected, press Ctrl space and search for displays. And we're going to add this fast noise connected with the displays. And in the background, we're going to change the type to gradient. And over here, we're just going to make this a little bit gray like this. So over here in the polygon, go over to Z rotation and change this to 90. And also decrease the size from here to 0.5. And now you can move this right here. Now go back to the transform and from here, change the pivot to 2.33. And now if you will change the angle, this is how it will move. Now let's go back to the main timeline. And from here, go back to the one that we did before, open in Fusion page. And from here, simply just copy the glow and film grain by pressing Ctrl C. And now let's go back to our Fusion composition and now press Ctrl V. And from here, you can just connect the displays with the glow and the film grain with the media out. Now go to the transform and over here, right click the angle and go to modify width and then select NM curves. Go to modifiers and from here change this to custom and create a keyframe at 0 at scale and then all the way to the end. Just go over here and type in this star sign and then 100. So this basically multiplies 360 by 100. Right, so now go back to the tools and over here change the angle to 360 once again. And if you play this, this is how it will look. Now, if you want to speed this up, you can go back and multiply this. So since this is pretty fast at the moment, we can just divide this by 10 and see how this looks. So this looks much better. Now let's go to the main timeline and see how this looks. And here you can see we have the both of the effects coming in. Now what you can do is you can select both of these, right click and press new compound clip. And this will create a new compound clip and you can just call this overlay. And now let's drag this so that this fits in our Fusion composition. And if you play this right now, this is how it will look. And also make sure you select this and you can change the composite to add. So I'm going to change the opacity to 50. And this is how it looks now. Okay, so now we're going to create a transition. So for that, we're going to create another Fusion composition. You can just simply drag this, right click, and this time we're going to set the clip duration, change the 5 to 0, and just set this to 10. All right. And now we're going to fit this in right here. So move 5 frames behind right here at 1 and just slightly drag this and this will get over the overlay. So we just need the overlay at 1 and then we will have this transition. So right click and open in Fusion page. Now go ahead, drag in a background connected with the media out. And this time drag in this torn ripped paper. Connect it with the background. And from here, let's adjust some size. So you can drag the size from here and change the angle. Make sure this fits in the screen like this. So we're going to create some keyframes. Right now, let's create keyframe at center, size, and angle. And also make sure you change the operator to in. Now let's go over to one frame and flip this. So you can just change the angle, move this like this, and this is random. You can do this on your own. This is up to you. All right, now let's go to 2, the angle, move this right here, go to 3, again change the angle, move this right here, 4, let's move this to this position, and at 5 we already have this. Then at 6, let's move this, change the angle over here. So this is manual process. I'm just quickly going to do this now. Perfect. So if you play this now, this is how it looks. Now make sure that you select merge one and press Ctrl space, and this time search for blur. and change the blur size to 20. Now go back to the main timeline and over here, select your fusion composition and change this to divide. So here you will see this is how it looks. All right, now let's create a fusion composition once again, but this time right click and change the clip duration to just 20 and change the 5 to 0. All right, now right click over here, open in Fusion page, add a background connected with the media out, drag in this text connected with the background, go over here, type in your text, and the font that I'm using is Futura, but this will be at extra bold. Let me change this to 0.25, and I will also add another background and a rectangle. Connect both of these, and then with the merge one, this time the color will be red. So I'm just going to drag this right here, but first of all, let me drag in this text connected with this merge and then copy the settings from here, paste them right here. Now let's drag this down, and over here, I'm just going to type in something else. And this time I'm going to change the Futura, the font to Futura Bold. And let me change this to 0.2, or let's go with 1516 looks fine. So let me just position this right here. And then now let's go to the rectangle and slightly move this up. Change the width a little bit at 0.6. Height at 0.1 is okay. And let me just move this up so that this joins in this text over here. And now you can move in this text up as well. Now go over to the merge, and from here to merge and here, change the operator to text bar. And this is how it will look. Now select your merge 3 and click on transform. At 0, let's create a keyframe at size, and then over here at the end, let's increase this to 1.4. And if you play this, this is how it looks. But let's go over to spline, and this time we're going to select the keyframes, hit S on the keyboard, and move them slightly in. Like this. Now over here at 10, go over to merge 2, create a keyframe at blend, change this to 0. Do the same thing for merge 3. And now go over at 11, change this back to 1, and this one to 1 as well. So this is how it will look. Now let's go ahead and drag in this file, connect it with the merge 3, and let me just resize this, change the angle to 90, and let's also flip this and move this right here. And let me just increase the size a little bit more, move this right here. And over here at 9, I'm going to create a keyframe at blend, change this to 0, then at 10, change this to 1, and then at 11, change this back to 0. So if you play this now, this is how it looks. And let me just increase the size a little bit more, like this. Okay, one thing you need to change is that if you go back to your Fusion composition, change the background slightly to a lesser dark color, somewhere around here, then go back to the main timeline and go over to this line over here, because otherwise this will not be visible. So go over to this effect that we created and make sure that you unselect the blur, or you can simply just delete the blur. So if you will play this now, this will get added to both these clips. Now we're going to create some particle effects. So drag in a fusion composition. And once again, we're going to have the same settings that we did for the timeline below it, which is 20 over here and 0 over here. Right click, open in Fusion page, and drag in this particle emitter, and then also click on this particle render and connect it with the media out. Now go over to the particle emitter, and over here, change the number to 1. Change the temporal distribution to randomly distributed. Now go over to region, make sure that this is a sphere, Go over to style, change this to line, and go over to size control and change the size to 2. And in the region, make sure that you increase the size all the way to 1. Now in the styles, go over to color controls and keep this at red at 0.7, somewhere around 0.7. Make sure you select the render and press Control Space and search for glow. Keep the glow size at 10 and change the glow to 0.99. And you will see that we have these particles now. Go back to the P emitter and go over to controls. And from here, select this rotation and change the X to -50, X variance to -170, and then the Z to -60. If you will play this now, you will see that we have these particles over here. Go back to the main timeline so that you can see this much more clear. So here you can see we have some particles in the background. Now over here in the main timeline, select this particle composition and change the composite mode to screen. Moving on, let's drag in another composition and change the duration to 1. Head over to this composition and add in a background. Now drag in a text and connect it with the background. I'll go over here to right on and add 10, create a keyframe, and then add 9. Let's change this to remove the B from here, and then create a keyframe at 7, then add 6, remove the 2 from here, and then add 4, create a keyframe, and then add 3. We're going to do this going, and then add 1, create a keyframe, and then at 0, change this to 0. So this is how it's going to look. And now drag in another text, copy the same settings from here and paste them right here. Now connect it with the merge 1, and now go over to text 1 and change the color to red. Something like red, it's up to you. So go over to keyframes over here and select the text 2. And make sure you click on this button so that you can see the keyframes. All right. Now from here, you can see that the keyframes up till 10 for the first text that we have, which is of this red color, is ending at 10 frames. Now, what we need to do is change the keyframes for the text 2. We just need to move it up till 12 over here. So let's hide in this text 1 and only select the text 2. So select all of these like this and slightly just move this up till 12. And now if you play this is how it's going to look. Drag in another text connected with the merge 2. This is the font that I'm using. So over here, let me just place this at 0.34, slightly move this up, and I'm going to select both of these texts, and let's just move this up. So what we can do here is let's go over to this side, the y-axis, in the layout section, change this to 0.7, and go over to text 2 in the layout, change this to 0.7. And now let's move the text over here. And this one, I'm going to change this all the way to red. And at 12, create a keyframe at right on, and at 10, change this to 0. Drag in a fast noise and connect it with the merge 3, and go over to the color from here. And first of all, let's change the color to red. And from here, let's change the color to somewhere around here. And let's add in a glow. And let's also add in another fast noise and connect it with the merge 4. And now drag in this ellipse and connect it with the fast noise as well. But this time, click on invert and change the soft edge all the way to 0.2. Now let's go over to ellipse, and over here, let's change the settings a little bit like this. So let's keep this at 0.5 by 0.5 at 0, create keyframes. And then over here at the end, let's increase this like this. Okay, I'm going to go over to this fast noise over here and type in this color code so you can copy, and this will look much better now. Now let's drag in this person running image, connect it with the merge 4, and let's also add in this transform and increase the size to, let's say, 2.84. Bring this right here. Perfect. Now finally, we're going to add this transform node, create a keyframe, add size, and at the end, let's change this to 1.2. Go over to spline and select this transform, and let's select the keyframes and hit S on the keyboard. Slightly move this. So here we have our composition completed. Now for the last part, we're going to add one last composition. So let's drag this in and change the clip duration to 20. And over here, let's move 4 frames behind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start this composition. Right click and head over to the Fusion page. Drag in this background, connect it to the media out, and change the color to this color code. Now drag in another background and a rectangle mask, connect both of these, and change the background color to this color code. Now let's increase the width and the height a little bit for this background. Change the soft edge to 0.2. Drag in a background and a polygon. Connect the polygon to the background and the background to merge 1. Now in the background, go ahead and change the color to this. And in the polygon, let's go ahead, first of all, create a line. So I'm going to create a line like this. Change the border width to 0.3. We just straighten this. Okay. And let's go ahead, add in a duplicate node right underneath the background. And let's move the center right here. I'm also going to change the soft edge a little bit like this, 0.15. Let's also go back to the duplicate and change the center to 0.9 like this. Let's add in text. So connect it with the merge 2. Let's add in some keyframes. So add 2. I'm going to create a keyframe for the first one. And add 4. Let's bring this in. Then at 5, we're going to do it for the second one. Then at 6, we're going to bring this in. And finally, for the last one, this will be at 7 to 8 frames. And finally, we're going to bring in this smoke image and connect this. Now go over to the merge and change the apply mode to multiply. Bring this right here. And you can also increase the size a little bit like this. And go ahead and change the edges to duplicate like this. And now finally add this rectangle, connect it with the merge 6, increase the width and the height, go over to 5 and create a keyframe, and then at 15 create another keyframe. Then at the 1 and 5, you would simply just need to move this down. And also make sure you change the soft edge to 0 0.1. And now let's also add this transform node. At 0, create a keyframe, and then at all the way to the end, let's change this to 1.2. Go over to spline, and for this transformation, just select the keyframes and hit S on the keyboard. We are done, but we need to do one final thing. In your main timeline, go over to this position right here, select your fusion composition and create a keyframe at zoom. Then move one frame behind and change this to 0.6. And then go all the way to the start and change this to 0.5. So this is how it will look. Now you can also go ahead and change the composite mode to add, and there are many different settings, but I'm going to keep this at normal. So this is how it looks. So this is it for this video. I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you in the next video.